system saying our line is full.
Mosika bayama tokatisa bambonge bibale tala nzambe ya telemi poasala tokanga ekuke na satan
yebisi tozala kiloko makasi mpona bomoko tozalaka nango awa tokomi oboma bondeko bendela kongo ndezokweya soboilelo oyo monguna kota apanza fondation totonga elongo kongo ya lelo esengilisanga topesa na maboko totonga elongo.
Aimons-nous les uns les autres, car l'amour supporte tout.
Batoto ya Kongo kukosana ni kwa nini? Mampangia mono kunona samu na ingi
Bana baka Kongo kutana negumba chine
Kongo Kongo mokananga Jésus mboka nini boye bayembela nzambe na nsala mboka nini boye balinga nzambe na milelo Kongo yo penza oza shoya nzamba bomoi kasi tubumati ubonde koliko na biloko ekolekana il n'est jamais trop tard pour faire le bien pour la Congo yanga na yo na nasilite oh dans l'unité et l'amour, et l'ongo totonga Congo.
Sangisa, moya kanito sangisa mayele pour l'avenir et le développement du Congo.
Mangomoluba muswahili na mongala, totonga bolingo, bolingo ebendaka kimia.
It is a time of reconciliation, it is a time of unity. Together we're stronger, better, greater Congo.
Et mon nom les autres, car l'amour se porte tout.
Congo mongala zate muluba zate mukongo moswahili te biso nyonso bakongole na libota bana nyonso bazalaka elongi moko te kasi batikali bana tata moko l'air n'est pas la division ya nanga yaka tosimba na mula mitango ya bokonzi ebomaki bomoko na biso te ngai komoluba na bala yo mwasi ya bandundu bongo bana tobwaka bango wabio tribalisme totika tango tozofinga nawa bango na bazosepela Kongo yo ngai nasenga na nzambe te Kongo yo ya makila na ngai ya nzoto
totegelaki biso bolingo tolinga na bana Kongo
ata beno kuna na diaspora beno mefukana RPC yango ya kele bwana na beto betu mezolana betu mefukana betu mezolana
awe tuneva Kongo yobe witu saidi tujenge nchi yetu kwa umoja na mapendo yetu lelongi chokoto yesheke pungale yeto kimane moko songo ekomata soki nga na yo tosangani na bosolo libala bamoto aimons-nous les uns les autres car l'amour supporte tout.
Umoja tutashinda na bumosi betanunga ewe mobabu mwane tochimune
beto vanda kisika mosi beto kala kintwadi tanga kokabwana esili ekomi moto na moto amema libanga na ye kona kotonga Kongo
après ce chemin parcouru tout est maël longo tokende liboso
kosana nyonso ekabolaki biso yakande kototonga mboka Congo totelema. Le Congo d'aujourd'hui n'est pas un Congo de la haine, encore moins du tribalisme. Ilongolo yanga totonge Congo papa na mama boyanga totonge Congo toboiko kabwana biso tolingi bomoko totonga Congo
kawe na boya kusukula kwisei tudisanisha iwe bena Congo boati bakaiwe.
Mets ton sang au tribalisme. On a besoin de la paix, pas d'un cataclysme. Il faut qu'on arrête de nous éparpiller. Focalisons-nous sur le bien du Congo qui a vacillé. Pendant longtemps on a roupillé. Réveillons-nous pour payer le prix de la réconciliation, pour que la nation sorte du joug de la résiliation. Le Congo est béni, béni par le Dieu qui nous a unis, restant unis par son amour infini.
Yakasa kubuna Lumumba
Kongo yo ya mobutu na muzeka bila
Kongo ya Raisa na Fachi Kongo ya Kizenga Kamere Kyungu ya mama nigabe na jizega jiwani
Kongo ya Katumbi Fayulu na Bemba kwendela tungu takutemba kubatu tindi na je okay fana bana mama bana mabongo mama elomba kungale nyasome kalambe mama elomba ekende
ndeko soko lingo kene mbangu na vi kende yo moko kasi soko lingo kende musika kende na bato.
Vita mokonzi nkumu monene naluka yo na bangomba baveye bajene baretraite samba bantoma zamba milimo ya basakoli manati nini kolembana nango ye bobola nini jova okoka te kosilisa probleme nini goliate nini yango efelo nini okoka te kokwisa talanga mwana nakomi na suka libosoma ya monana nsima nanga mapinga ya falo moyoki losambo jamais koyokisa soni bayeba talelaka yo belela nzambo oyo belela nzambo oyo benga ya zoyoka benga ya kosala senga ya kopesa lupe ya zanandu azali fidele bamokili balingi bayeba wapi nzambe na ngai nzambo ya ngai oyo abandaka na lola akabola bibale na biteni mibale akitisa moto utalola baprofeta bali basambwa akanga minoko bankosi ye moto aminei na moto.
Welcome. I guess you can hear me. If you can you switch on your cameras? Okay, at least I just wanted to test. Okay, Karibu or welcome. This is the last session for this group. We've had session 7 actually training sessions, but we had extra 2 speakers. So this has been it was my guinea pig program, and I think in my view it took off well. And, I'm happy the far that we have gone. I'll possibly be sharing a questionnaire with you just to let me know how you found the program and possibly what you're doing with the information, but some of the topics that you feel we can go deeper for those of you who are interested, and possibly discuss the how. I've already begun developing modules for some of those, but it would be good to give priority to the areas that some of you feel they are very useful. We actually just touched, scratch the top. For example, the topic on multiple intelligences. Each intelligence is quite weighty, and we just touched on top. We didn't even cover all. For example, we didn't talk about financial intelligence. So those are some of the areas that I personally intend to go deeper. But I will possibly revert to what I'm saying last after this. So I intend to go straight to today's session so that we are able to cover time. Maybe before I do that, let me just say it's a busy day for me. I'm a member of the BTL board, so I've jumped out of the board and left a very important meeting going on. So because I'm committed to this program, I have another session coming in today at it's crazy. After this, and I have another one coming in after 7. So it will be a long day for me. So I really want to just focus on what I feel is necessary for us to cover this topic today. So today we are talking about creativity and the innovation culture. I will focus more on the innovation culture, but let's just get going. So as I said, it's our last session. It didn't come early for reasons. Sometimes we ignore culture because culture doesn't look like it's a very important thing. We talk about it, but it's a powerful force. So we just look at it briefly, or not briefly, to the extent that our time allows here. As you know, we did cover we went through some almost 10 topics. The introduction on who is a leader, and we looked at a leader from the 3 perspectives of definition of leadership, and then influencer, and then we also talked about the leadership ladder or the levels of leadership. And those of you who have been keen to read the developing the leader within you and complete, which was my hope that you could complete by now, you have seen Maxwell has expanded the levels of leadership in different levels. Then we talked about multiple intelligences. As I said, with this group, I didn't talk about financial intelligence, but the other group that's coming on board, I'll be touching on that, just expanding. There are actually several intelligences. There are also rational intelligence, and I'll try as much as possible with the other group just to expand, to embrace that. And then we looked at the leader-follower relationship, we touched a bit of ethics, and then we had Mr. Ogutu talk to us about the challenges affecting or impacting on the 21st century leaders. Then we touched on foresight and agility. I intend to separate this possibly with group 2 because they are a bit separate so that I can be able to give each some good time. Then we had Haji talk about tackling corruption and leadership. Then the last session we had a conversation on the immigrant mentality, which is a leadership or leaders culture. And we saw how it's unique from just any other. So today we'll talk about innovation and creativity. I thought we would have a visitor or somebody to talk to us about technology and leadership, but we'll touch on it. We'll touch about technology when it comes to creativity because it's, innovation culture, because it's one of this. Those of you, I have just happily approved my book for mass printing in the print with English press today. And in the book of Tackling Corruption in Africa Beyond 2030, I have a whole chapter there on why we need culture in dealing with issues, but I also have a chapter on technology. So once it's out, those who are interested, I'll encourage you to get yourself a copy and maybe see more because it's quite extensive. I don't have time to do it here. So I'll highlight because really the essence of this training is not to get deeper with you guys. It's to stir you up into, going, if you want to go deeper into leadership, but give you enough information that gets you to begin to improve, to begin to a journey of growth as a person, okay? I can see, Angela, you are raising your hand. Let me admit you. Okay. I don't know why you're raising your hand. Angela, do you want to say something?
No, I raised it up accidentally,
okay.
Sorry.
Okay, fine. So, yeah, and I was thinking we could just meet and do a quick evaluation of what went on in this training. If that's fine with you, but let's talk. That's why I had reserved 27th August, but we'll talk whether that's possible, okay? So let's talk. Today I'll look at what is creativity and innovation, some definitions there, and then we'll talk about types of innovations. Then we look at innovation culture, which I'll spend quite some time on it, and then dimensions of innovation culture. And then I'll finish with the drivers. What drives the creation of an innovation culture? And we'll see at this level how serious leadership is. And I'll be sharing some practical examples of this, okay? So some would say innovate or die. And I think that's a statement I say. And this quote by Bob Prentice says, innovate or die. It's the battle cry of dozens of startup founders and corporate executives trying to lead change in the modern era. Those who don't take risk and try new approaches are doomed to fall the way of Blockbuster and BlackBerry. You know what happened to BlackBerry? When I joined World Vision as a senior management team, BlackBerry was the phone of the time, It was only bottom management. And I enjoyed using BlackBerry, but we don't hear of BlackBerry anymore. And what this guy is saying, Bob, is because somebody was slow to innovate, then we can't hear them anymore, or they're obsolete, they are not in the market. And possibly as we go through, we'll see why should you innovate, and do we have options to innovate little or innovate more? Okay, so what is creativity? Somebody here is trying to create stuff, a lot of drawings there and think through, but what is creativity? Maybe I ask somebody, when you tell people so and so is really creative, what does that mean? Daniel, when you say somebody is very creative, what comes in your mind?
Yeah.
Daniel Kitwa.
Oh yeah, I was looking if there's another Daniel.
No, it's only one here.
Yeah, for me, creativity means the ability to come up with new thinking, new ideas, or build, or better, the previously built on ideas, or build on what the ideas that have been there. So basically, come up with something new. Possibly a new innovation, new process, or a new approach of doing things, or bettering what has been there before, so as to improve output. That's my thinking of creativity.
Okay, good thinking there. Aaron, is there a difference between creativity and innovation in your view? Or are they one and the same thing?
I think, as my brother Daniel was sharing, I think it's the ability to come up with something new or improving on something that someone had already done, just making it better.
So what's the difference between innovation, when you say somebody is very innovative, and then you say somebody is very creative? When do we use which?
I can answer as well. I would say my thinking is creativity is the framework of innovation. So I would say innovation and invention are different. So innovation is building on what's been invented, and then invention is like something new. So I would say yeah, so that's my thinking. So creativity is like the core in terms of foundation, or it's the core principle in terms of you are a creative person, so that's your nature or your DNA. And then you can either be creative in the context of innovating, building on new of the ideas that have been there, but making them better, or maybe being an inventor, being the person who came up with the light bulb, Thomas Edison, or actually improving the light bulb. Yeah.
Interesting thinking. So let's say that if there's a difference, because sometimes we say so-and-so is so creative or is very creative, and then sometimes we say this is innovative. Sometimes there's a confusion. Let's see. So when you talk about creativity, and I'll give you different thoughts from different people. The dictionary says it's the use of imagination, and this is what your brain comes into power here, or original ideas. I want you to see the difference. There's imagination. That's what the dictionary says, original ideas to create something. Okay, so that's one. Now, this lady called Linda Nyman says the act of nurturing new, and I think that I wanted to see the words at the choice of word, nurturing new idea, and again the word imagination comes into play here, imaginative idea into reality. And then Rawls says the process of bringing something new. So you can see consistency of imagination, original, new stuff here. There's newness here. So it's like it has not existed before when it will become creative. Here is the issue again of transforming your ideas, and again, your ideas, look at them here, imaginational dreams into reality. So there are three things basically when you talk of creativity that we see. So there is a brain power here that comes into play. There is originality of thinking in this case. But also people don't just think, they translate that idea into reality. And I think what this picture here is doing. This guy, we don't know what is in the mind of this lady, but you can see they have used something to bring into reality. So creativity is not complete until we see it or until it comes into play. So that's a reality aspect. So that's very important. Let's see innovation. What does innovation mean? Does it also involve this? But basically, when you say somebody is very creative, it's not just a level of thinking. We are saying definitely the brain comes into play. There's an originality of idea of creativity there. Somebody brings out their brain power, something that we never possibly thought of. And then they work towards, or dreamed of, and they work towards bringing it into being. So what is innovation? Let's see. So one is an idea, the other one is a process. When we talk of innovating, we are thinking of a process. And this process involves some particular type of people. Now, let me just stop there and say, for creativity, everybody has a particular idea. It may not be the same, but you have your own idea. Possibly what matters in this case is the uniqueness of the idea and your ability to bring it into play. But when we talk of, when we talk about innovation, we are saying a process where mavericks, these are non-conformists and risk takers. They take a new idea, again, to add value, incrementally or significant, and we'll be talking about this one, or to a product, service, operation. And I want you to see, one is a process. When you talk of innovation, it's not an instant thing. It's not just taking a pen and drawing something and, for example, artwork. Many times when you deal with artwork, because it's a quick idea that we quickly take on and within a short time or long time, it comes into, we are able to quickly see it. Innovation is really a process. Rarely do you find something innovated overnight. And that's why the example that Dan gave of the light bulb, it's really a process. And people who innovate are risk takers in most cases. We call them mavericks or conformists. It's very difficult to see fearful people get into innovation process. And that's why it says you innovate or die, and you come into that to see, should we then just live in our fear or should we start somewhere? But I want you to see this, that these guys called mavericks or non-conformists or risk takers, they could take on an existing idea or a new one, and the intention is to add value. And this addition of value within this process could be incremental, just slowly by slow step, or it can be a major one. And when I'll be giving examples of this later as I speak, but just a quick one, for example, that comes into play here. Incremental one is where you find a company, for example, changing systems. Maybe they adopt a new accounting system, and there was one before, or maybe you change the way things are done, possibly payment systems, as you improve efficiency. A significant one, in my mind, I was thinking of, for example, the SGR. That was a huge change that, just came through. It's costly. You feel the impact. It's major. Many significant innovations are huge. They start, they take a while. They're also very costly in most cases. And you can do that to, or even industries that produce. If you look at companies that do a production of certain things like either products, body products, or food stuff, that's one way you can, the innovation in that case could be either the ingredients or maybe taste of food or packaging. And the essence, as I said, is to add value. That's why we are saying you either innovate or die. Because if you can't continually add value to something, whether it is service, I work in a school, so we have to constantly think of how can you add service to this thing? Or it's an operation, what's your turnaround? I have been interacting for a few while with Standard Group. And one of the things that I've noticed about the operations of that company, they are extremely poor in time management. So if, for example, they were to become innovative, they have to look for a way to know how to maybe improve their time management. Or it could be an organization, as I say. So the essence of the bottom line of this process we are calling innovation is this word that I've underlined. And that's why we are saying you innovate or die. Because if you can't constantly add value to a product or service, or operation, or an organization, it's a matter of time. The systems will phase you out, and you will likely be obsolete and the world can make use of it. So I just wanted to say it's a process. We keep exploring, and we'll talk more about it. There are failures, and we'll find out what do we need to make this process going. It's also a process of creating value, just again the word value, by applying novel. Novel, these are new or radical or new challenges, or great ideas or novel solutions. In this case, are new or creative, as I say, solutions to a significant problem. So if you have a huge problem, like I said, in this case, Kenya had a serious problem of transport to the coast. And of course, SGR, the Standard Railway Gauge, for those of you who come from outside the country, SGR means Standard Gauge Railway. It was a solution to a serious, problem. Lots of accidents on the road, and possibly this has reduced. They are still negotiating on the cargo aspect. It's also a successful implementation of something new. Again, you can see the difference between the innovation aspect and creativity is mainly this word. And you see creativity doesn't have to be, it can be incremental, it can be instant, but in most cases, the innovation it's very difficult to innovate without a process. So whether short or long, somehow, because of the stages that are involved in getting the issue done. And so the third one is about implementing something new or different that's affordable, accessible, and again, the word value add. And I thought of all this, and I thought when we talk of innovate, we take a problem, we bring the fellows we call the mavericks or risk takers, and they bring their own unique solutions, and we have a value add. And you can talk of, in that case, you can talk of innovation. When you bring a problem, and get these guys involved, and they bring those unique problems, then many times you'll find either that, whether this problem had something to do with product or service or operations or organization, in most cases, the ultimate result is value add. And sometimes there are failures in innovation, but the intention is to get to value add. So, let's look at types of innovations. As I said, there are three. There's incremental. This is incremental one is where it's minimal in nature, not a lot of investments, and also takes a bit of it doesn't take a lot of resources. Resources in terms of people, the testing, the technologies, and also the resources, and it's step by step. You start something little. For example, I remember when we started introducing technology in our school, we did incremental, and we have continually done incremental. Just a minute there. Momo, can you handle that guy? You can hear that sound. So it's incremental. In that sense, in the school, for example, where I was giving an example, we wanted to set up a lab. So in that case, you had to look at the phased way of phase 1, phase 2 of maybe setting up the facility, and then you buy the technology, and then you access. That's an incremental way of becoming innovative, or even where people change the systems of doing something. But we have what you call semi-radical. Radical is extreme, but it's not. It's something between incremental and the radical. And the radical is a huge one. It's where you go tough. Like, for example, setting up a nuclear something. It's you go for big. It's not that it's not a process. It is not that it doesn't mean that it's not a process. But radical means it's a huge change. It arrests the country. It can go radical in the sense that it will change the systems. It will require huge monies. So in between the incremental and radical is a semi-radical. Many organizations tend to play around with these two. They tend to go incremental, and while others do semi, but many people, because of the fear of failure in most cases, or genuinely lack of resources, they like to go incremental, and then they move possibly semi-radical. Rarely do you find many organizations going this, or people taking this step. So these are the three. And so really, you don't have a reason to say, oh, I can't innovate. You can innovate. You can do, it could be a good, remember, innovation is about adding value to either service or product or idea. See something, whether at a personal level. For example, you can decide, I want to change my lifestyle in the way I deal with people. So how are you going to go about that? And you become innovative in the way you go about. So you go about it. So you must not use a lot of money. Some people think for you to be innovative, you really need a lot of money. You must not. You can become innovative in the way you dress, for example, and just combine, styles. It's incremental. You are changing your image. You're becoming innovative in the way you present yourself to other people. You can become innovative in the way you improve your communication, or even the way you set up your house, just by changing a few things. That's slowly you become, you go incremental. So, but if you become rigid and you do nothing about this, whether incremental or semi-radical or radical, it's a matter of time. The world will catch up with you. Don't get there. Just decide it's possible to start somewhere, okay? So what's innovative culture, therefore? Somebody says, the definition is an innovative culture defines a work environment. I wanted to say this. One, culture is a way of doing things. When we say the simplest way of defining the word culture, it's just a way of doing things. And think, go back home. Let's go back home where you come from. All of you have a particular culture. There are, for example, families that don't eat in the TV room. I visited a friend of ours one time, and they are very strict. They can't bring food to the sitting room or the living room. If food is served, they must sit in the dining. Now, we don't have, that's a culture of that family, and they are used. Now, if they come to my house, they will have trouble because we can eat in both and we are comfortable. So that's a culture. A culture is a way of doing things, okay? Just that simple. People do things in a particular way. But when we talk of innovative culture, therefore, in this case, it's defined a work environment that leaders cultivate to nurture an orthodox or orthodoxical way of doing, or unconventional way of doing things. And I told you this nonconformist, old, peculiar thinking. So any work environment or setting that encourages this very unconventional way of doing things, it's a traditional way of doing stuff, then we can talk of an innovative culture. To innovate is to bring into life something that wasn't there, or improve that which was not there, or make it better by either improving or bringing something new. So that culture, that way of life of people risking to do stuff at any given time, and they are risk takers, as I say. When we create a setting where people are free to try out things, whether incrementally or semi-radically or radically, then that environment that nurtures that way of doing things, an incremental way of changing or adding value, or semi-radical or radical way, then that's what we call an innovative culture. Many companies today are dying because of this. In fact, it's said that there are only, I think, 10% of the Fortune 500 companies, 10 or 40, I can't remember very well, my memory fails me, that existed in 1960s exist today in the same category. There are many huge thousands of 500 Fortune, 500 Fortune companies, 500 Fortune companies. There are many, but those that have lasted over the years, it is said that there are those that have risked to innovate. If they can't innovate and they choose we are changing nothing, their companies become obsolete over time. Remember, I told you of the VUCA environment. It's a very complex environment, and somebody must be constantly studying. How are things changing? What do we need to do to prepare ourselves for tomorrow? Because without the foresight that we need and prepare ourselves, it's going to be very difficult. Even families, for example, one of the biggest conflict we have today is the old generation, the Boomers, the Generation X, and the Millennium. There's a conflict in this group. You know, yesterday my husband was telling me of a situation where this guy must be a Generation X, and his boss was a boomer, you know, the one previously, not the millennial. The guy is active, is, you know, hardworking, and one morning he walks to the office and the other guy just says, I just don't like you. I mean, can you imagine your boss just telling, and it's not that he's a thief, it's not that he's lazy. I mean, he has fixed offices in the region where they work. And I can tell you, when you follow through, is a lot of either culture difference. So when we are slow in innovation and another group is fast in innovating, there's a culture clash there. And when there's a clash in culture, because one culture is not innovative and another culture is innovative, it becomes very difficult to lead. And this is playing out in many, many places. You know, one of the days I was listening to one of the local respected clergy, and he was saying when of course the church was told to go indoors, you know, because of COVID, and he was saying, you know, they have discovered in their congregation that the millennials are more friendly with the technology, and he said, we think this is a great opportunity for us to go online and not just stop the online church, but make the online church more active. I can almost tell you now, the group that wants for church, for example, for church, the group that wants to go back to church mainly is not the younger generation. They are comfortable with the online church. But are those two groups, for example, ready to talk to each other and become innovative? Are the older group, is the older group learning, beginning or ready to be innovative? So are you there, for example, rigid as a leader, not able to work out something and you are stuck? I mean, honestly, for me, I have worked more when I was at home than when I was in the office. Because one, there was less interruption. Two, I was forced to become innovative with technology. And I can tell you the world will not go back. As I was just while I'm here, I told you I've just exited from a BTL because I'm a board member. And in that board member, we were presenting a report, a review report. Some guys are seated. We had people seated in three different, actually 2 continents, three continents. And we are talking to each other. Some people, it was midnight for them. Others here, it was three something. So if, for example, people never become innovative, it becomes very difficult to move the agenda forward. So I just wanted to say, if you are in a leadership position and you're seated here, this is one thing that you must sing and advocate. Any organization that chooses not to innovate, to die. If you go online and type Anna Kyoya, Anna no ANNAH, and you'll see an article that I wrote about the characteristics of leaders that need to lead change and innovation. It was very interesting as I was writing, but I was still a student. So my professor liked it, so he published it. So the dimensions of innovation. When you talk of innovation culture, it has a dimension that environment, that culture, that way of doing things that encourages mavericks to try out things. When you talk about that culture, there are 3 dimensions. There are 3 things that that culture needs to have to succeed. 3 things of the dimensions of that culture. One is the innovative abilities of the employee. I mean, we can't have an innovation unless the employees themselves become innovative. Okay, so that's, if you're a leader, that's something that you look out for. I particularly look out for innovative stuff, and I will pick them quickly, very quickly when I'm with them. And I don't tell them, but I will know this so-and-so has an innovative, capability or potential. So that's something the organization must, or wherever you are, or a group that you lead, you need to be quick to say, who is this employee whose brain is constantly thinking of a new thing? Don't kill them. Don't tell them, you keep talking about stuff. No, tap that brain and just know they are an asset to the organization. The second one is the organizational willingness to innovate. Now, these 3 mix, as I will mention, are so critical for a culture to develop. So one, we need the brains, or the people, the mavericks, the risk takers, the non-conformists. We need them in the organization. Two, we need an organization to demonstrate willingness. Because without this willingness, even if these guys are there, there is nothing they can do, because they'll be contained and not enabled. And the third one is the opportunity. There could be willingness. Leadership can even be willing and allow staff to talk, but so, because the opportunity comes with space, and I will be sharing what happens with PwC, sometimes, actually even today, that's one of the companies that never died. But one of the things that PwC, I don't know when I'm going ahead of myself, but let me just say it here. Sometimes, yes, no, let me hold. I know when I talk about PwC, it's managing something we call the organizational antibodies. I'll come to that. But basically, let's pick this here, the dimensions or the facets, the different sides of an innovation culture. For an innovation culture to take off in an organization, we must have this mix. Okay, we'll see what drives it later, but we need the people, we need the willingness, and of course, every time we talk of organizational willingness, we are talking of the top leadership, because top leadership creates a culture in an organization. And then, of course, if they are willing, they will most likely create the opportunity. This opportunity means time, resources, and the space. And we'll look at it that a little bit shortly. But these are things. Anytime you don't see an innovation in an organization, check out for one of these is missing. Either the leadership is not supportive, either they don't know, or they fear, they don't take risk, or they don't even know what to do. Or they know, but they don't provide this. They are comfortable with status quo. Or you are led by, the fellows we call antibodies. I'll show you the antibodies leaders, how they behave like, okay? They kill every single idea that comes up, these guys. You try to bring up, I say, I think we can arrange these seats like this in the lodge. They say no. You know, they even, I had, it's interesting. I had this story, a story in a church setting where the young people wanted to place there was I think a pulpit, the pulpit at the front, you know. They wanted to place it in the middle of the church at the stage. But there are some very old guys there who are very rigid, and they didn't want to do it. So this is what the young people did. They figured out that if they move an inch of that pulpit structure every Sunday, just an inch, the elderly guys won't notice. So they started the process. And so they would move a little every Sunday. So those guys would come and they would not notice the difference. So ultimately, they were used, because by the time they discovered it was at the center of the pulpit, so you don't need to use those kind of approaches. We need a leadership that's very radical. Of course, you need to be stable. You can't innovate every time. But to cultivate a culture, you need to arrest or harvest or tap these brains, and then either incrementally or semi-radically or radically cultivate the culture. So why should we be creative or innovative? Why do you think we should? Why? I think I've already mentioned some things, but why do you think we should not shut our brains? Angela, I've never heard you speak. Tell me, why should you be innovative? Angela Mutua, who just joined and disappeared. Angela, are you here? Okay, Carol, Kimani.
Yeah, I think if you don't have innovation, you will definitely die, as you said in the preamble.
Why are you dying? Let's see. Expand a little bit. Think of where you are working. Assuming we just do things the same way for the next 4 years, what will happen?
other organizations will come up who have better packages, who have better ideas, and they will overtake you.
Sure.
Yes.
So you will not grow. You will just die naturally. So and thank you, Carol, for that. Alice, what do you think? If you just don't innovate, change nothing, just be happy with what you have, including dressing yourself. Let's go. Let's calm down. Let's get today. Don't do nothing about your hair. You know, you are the same fellow, same style. When you fix, let's talk about ladies. Let's talk about this. Change nothing. Even the men, no nothing. What will happen?
Okay, I guess first I won't have growth, because now I'm in the same level that I have been, so there won't be any growth.
Okay, let me talk to this man. Faith, little ladies, assuming that you have a house and you change nothing, don't change cups, you don't change seats where they stay for the next 10 years. What do you think will happen? As a young girl. Let's get real, you guys. You are running away from realities. Talk to me, Faith. What do you think will happen? Faith, this is Faith Magoma. Magoma is Faith. Are you guys here? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Pastor Ann.
Okay, Faith, go ahead.
Sorry, what was the question?
Okay, let's go. Assuming you have a house, and you don't change anything, you don't become creative, you don't innovate, same cups that you bought the last 5 years, same seats, same arrangement, nothing changes. Single girl, not married, what do you think will happen?
To me, what will happen to me?
What do you think will happen in life? Yeah, you just decide you change nothing. No hairstyle, you put the same hairstyle. Every time you go to the salon, same hairstyle.
Life will be very tasteless, very no color in life, no.
Who decides life will be tasteless? You are already happy with your style.
Oh, I'm personally happy with my style.
Yeah. So, but you are changing. You are not changing, but you are happy with your style. What do you think will happen?
Oh wow.
Let me talk to the men. Brian, what do you think? Put yourself. You see, Faith. I know you know each other, but let's talk. Let's use Faith and yourself. Faith puts the same style of hair, nothing. She doesn't change, same dress, and when she buys new ones, she makes the same design. What do you think will happen?
I think should not be attractive.
There you go. Talk about it. Let's talk.
I think should look old-fashioned and not be attracted to her, and probably it would lead even to loneliness.
Yeah, sure.
People get used to her. That's my thinking.
Now translate that to an institution. Let's go to an organization, and I can tell you that we are talking about culture. You know, sometimes last year we were talking to the CEO of Standard Group, and I tell you, you walk into that office, it's magnificent. I mean, it's great, but they are losing business seriously to citizens. What do you think has made? Let's now go outside ourselves. It's as simple as from personal to organizational to a country. You know, look at our airport, for example. I have had an opportunity of traveling pretty much out of this country. You know, think of that. Think of a situation where an organization does not change. It's happy with what it does year after another. What do you think is going to happen, Javier?
I mean, to be honest, I mean, business will just move to another country, for instance, that is more accommodating and more open. Yeah.
For sure. That's it. You know, South Africa Airline just died almost the other day. The government kept bailing them out year after another, and they couldn't sustain them. those of you who have had an opportunity of living in South Africa, you know how, sometimes the system can be rigid. But look at, the other day, I don't know, I saw this brother who he documents, the brother in charge, but he does video for companies as part of his communication strategy. So I watched one video he was showing, on this platform about a company somewhere, I think around Rungayo, those of you from outside Kenya, you may not know. But I looked at the creativity of what those guys have put up, and I thought any hotel around that area has just lost. That guy, in one stop shop, it was like a one-stop shop in one compound. There is a gym, there is, I don't know, whatever. Anything literally you will find in different segments. He pulled several businesses and put them in one. So you can imagine, it's a place you can go and do your gym in the morning, you can take your shower, you can take breakfast, you can have conferences, you can do a retreat for the family, there is accommodation. I don't know how he thought, but look, he became creative and put everything together. So the question is, if we don't become creative in a small way, are we going to survive? Even in places, for example, if you want certain work to be done and somebody else has something they need to do, is it possible, for example, to agree with your junior and tell them, whatever you do, I want that work done? And they can choose to work from home. I'm challenging you, why should we be creative? Let me just show you a few things. As I said, when we become creative, we'll grow, and not just grow, but thrive within the VUCA environment. This is what we call becoming future smart. The second thing is, it helps you to look at problems and challenges from a fresh perspective. If you have been dealing, for example, with clients who like particular things in a particular way, and possibly they complain, you allow yourself to open up your mind and think and try out one or two things. And that in itself helps you to deal with problems and challenges, but from a different perspective. The other one is when we choose to be creative or innovative above experience, because experience isn't bad, but experience doesn't take us here. Experience doesn't take us to get us smart. We also get to move beyond barriers. Sometimes the things we allow ourselves to get confined in, or the things that confine us. For example, remember when we were talking about the immigrant mentality, some of the things that tie us back are things that we can deal with. I mean, I would be seated here and worried over, I can't get to the hotel, I don't have money to train, and I get miserable. But I thought, oh, Zoom, I can pay, I can train people, I can get people going. However little you get to move, or however much you want to impact people, you get moving. I was talking to a company the other day, and we were talking about undertaking a culture assessment. It's a negotiation that has gone on for a long time, so possibly they are indecisive. But they asked me, what is going to happen now that there is COVID? I said, but I can do assessment. I can assess a company using the computer. I mean, Zoom, you can do it, get creative. So you can go beyond the barriers if you choose to allow your brain to think. And then, this innovation and creativity helps you promote self-expression and radical thinking, especially among your staff. If you have a team and you allow people to talk, they are able to express themselves and bring out thinking that possibly you never had before. And the advantage with this one is it gets to the next level. Now, dopamine is a particular neurotransmitter in the brain. Actually, this is a part of the brain that gets excited when you take cocaine or addictive substances. Now, this same part of the brain is the one that is triggered by opportunity for self-expression and radical thinking. So if you allow staff to an opportunity just to talk, even if it's sometimes over lunch hour, and companies that know this, they actually, like PwC, they allow I don't know whether they still do it now, but I read the report. It was looking at PwC in Canada and I think the UK setup. And they were saying every day they would allow, every 1 week, I think they would allow 3 hours to employee to just go and think, not work. Just go and think of a good idea. In fact, they don't hire consultants, those guys, to give them good ideas. They give employees time to go and think how they can improve their company. And then, and I know I was going to possibly say this, but let me hold it. I'll explain it better, but later. But they allow them to think and bring the idea on board. We'll talk about later in this presentation, how that helps the company. But what happens is when you allow people to express their creativity power and think radically, you bring a special motivation and pleasure in the place of work. Because this aspect of self-expression and radical thinking, it excites a part of the brain, the dopamine, and triggers the neurotransmitters that actually cause joy and pleasure. It's very interesting. And it's normal, even in a marriage. I can tell you this, I've been in it for 20-something years. Every time my husband doesn't look like he's allowing me to express my mind, there's trouble. You know, you feel oppressed. The same with children. Even if you're not going to okay everything they say, just allow people to express themselves and bring their radical thinking into play. Even if you don't okay everything. As a leader, this helps your team, because the fact that you're a leader doesn't mean you have all good ideas. The good ideas many times are with your staff. And unless you learn how to arrest them and bring them into play, then you remain a very limited leader and you keep losing. Remember one time I told you keep losing number ones. Number ones are radical thinkers. They are mavericks. They are non-conformists. They want to try and stretch the boundaries. It's your responsibility as a leader to know, how do I shape their thinking in a way that we are still, the boat doesn't rock, we are still moving and we stay relevant. So there are many reasons why we need to activate our creative power and cultivate an innovative nature, but it's because it helps us to thrive. I want you to notice this one. There is a difference between growing and thriving. This word to thrive, it means you go beyond just grow. And this is what makes many companies, just die. They are growing at a very minimal progress, but they need to thrive. They need to do much more than just, or maximize their capacity. So the question is, today, as you listen to me, are you thriving or are you surviving? I am pausing so that you think and answer that question yourself. Are you just surviving? What percentage, if you were to gauge yourself now, what percentage of your potential is in play, is in use now? Are you operating on 20? Are you operating on 80? If God told you you are going to die next week, would you feel like there's something you have never done? An idea that you have just lugged around, dragged around with, because either you fear or something. We need you to bring your creativity and innovation into power or into play. So let me move into the drivers. What drives innovation? What are the things, particularly I'm now focusing on when it comes to organizations, because I know some of you are entrepreneurs, so you have your own businesses or you are working in companies. But let me talk to people that are working mainly in organizations or lead teams somewhere. The first thing is leadership. There is no amount of emphasis or overemphasizing this thing that can make me say less. Remember, if you are a fearful leader, if your brain, you pack your brain and it doesn't think, I can tell you your organizations will go as high as yourself. If you read Maxwell's books, this law, he says that the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, there's a law he calls the law of the lead. See the lead? Kifuniko. People will go as high as you are as a leader, and they will rock that lead. If they get where you are, they stop. Those that can't fit there, they will leave you. So if you see a high turnover of staff in an organization, you can trace it to the leader, either the departmental leader or the overall organizational leader. So, because if the mavericks come into play, and they are always there, they are always either intentionally recruited or they exist, they just came into play as well, you're looking for competency. If these risk takers are in an organization and the leader is oppressive or is not a risk taker leader or doesn't do those three things that we talked about, the recognizing the capacities of creating space, but also resources, then I can tell you for real, those guys won't start. So innovation culture starts at the top. The leader is the greatest driver of this factor because the culture of the leader is exemplified in an organization. Let me stop there. Let me show you something. I didn't want to show you this, but let me show you something that has just come into my mind about organizational cultures. It's not what I was training, but let me just show you something. Now, organizations have an interesting aspect of, there are 4 types of cultures in an organization. Let me just show you this. Now, this is not what I wanted to present, but let me just show you. This is very interesting. There are 4 cultures of an organization. There is one called the clan culture, just from the word clan, our clan. I come from this particular clan. Clan is more united family. We are together. Don't be too hard on each other. Talk nicely to your brother. The church tends to be a victim of the clan culture. It's not a victim per se. It's a good culture because this culture brings stability. But it kills organizations because it's not a growth culture. It's not an innovative culture. Then there's another culture called the adhocracy culture. This is a risk-taking culture. This is the innovation culture that I'm talking about, okay? And I'm not here to show you this, but I was not going to discuss about organizational cultures, but let me, veer off so that I can explain when I say the importance of innovation. Then there is another culture called the hierarchy. This is a control culture. Finance departments are very good with this one. It's a good culture, but it shouldn't lead the organization because you can control an organization until it dies as you control. Then there is a market culture. It doesn't mean marketing. It means the culture that looks at the interests of your clients. Now, leaders, every leader tends to be dominant in one of these. So if the organization is led by a clan, nice, good, daddy kind of pastor, leader, I'm telling you, you will enjoy, you will never resign, salary will come, hoping that you are funded by somebody, but slowly and sure that organization will die. It dies until people go home. In other words, the employees are paid final benefits. They don't even feel, it's like, the way people say, putting a tadpole, whatever, in water and it's warm and slow, you don't feel the heat. This is dangerous. It's very good for stability because employees don't leave. They stay as long as they stay. You hear somebody saying, I worked in this organization for 40 years, 30 years. I love this organization. We need employees, by the way, you have a clan culture because organizations need stability. But if the organization top leader has this culture, it's a matter of time. The organization will be obsolete and it will die. If the leader also has this culture, it's too controlling. Have you seen organizations where people must sign as they enter the gate in the morning? Hey guys, can you identify with me? Sign one time you came to the office. These guys. It's good, it's good in control. But after some time, the mavericks will leave. They don't live in this environment. Let me pull this. You notice these two cultures are internal. they are good in an organization. They bring stability and good control systems, very good. So see, this brings stability. This is very flexible. Daddy is nice. You know, our leader is approachable, very good, doesn't question anything. Even if you come at 10, it's all right. But this one, you must be there at 8 or 7:45, otherwise you go. So it's good in providing systems. And both of them are internal. They tend they impact on internal systems. But these two are external in the sense that this is the innovation culture and this one is the one that looks after the customer. Now, for an organization to thrive, it has to have the 4. See the way they look like a table. If you have one culture dominant, so when I do culture audit, for example, in an organization, this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what culture is driving the organization. Because the minute you see there is no growth, it means one culture is more dominant. Now, you can't keep innovating for your information because otherwise you use all the resources finding out everything new. So you need to innovate when it is necessary. Cultivate the culture to innovate. But you need to know their client, you need to take care of their systems, don't violate financial systems in the place. And also staff need to be cared for. You know, they need to know they are loved. So see, all these ones blend well to bring in stability in an organization. So I just wanted to say, innovation culture is just one of the 4. It's not everything. And it's important for us as leaders to know that we need to innovate, but we need to find balance. Now, when a leader, the reason why leadership therefore is important, because they have power. A leader has power, they have authority, they have resources, so they can shape which culture goes. For example, if those 4 cultures I've showed you, it depends on where the leader goes. So it's important for us to not exonerate the top leadership, because the top leadership then decides. If they are more clan, or they are more market, or they are more hierarchy, they would tend to run out. They're not a democracy culture. Remember the 4 I showed you. They tend to run away from innovating. Yet, I remember I said for an organization to grow, it must have those 4. If I do a culture assessment, there are tools we use. I'll know which culture is prevailing, and then you engage the leadership because people can change. Okay. So one, leadership, because leader, it starts at the top. Culture starts at the top. Why leader again? Because the leader, they have a position of influence, they have power, they have authority, and they have resources. And again, it shouldn't just stay at the top. It should be spread. You know, these guys, the ones who are able to drive innovation, we shouldn't just confine innovation into one department. I get worried if I go to an organization, then I hear them saying, we have an innovation department. there is danger there. The innovation should be a culture, a way of life. It should be, we should know that we can innovate depending on the need, and there are resources allocated for that anytime. But if we have a specialized group that is the only one that innovates and the rest don't, there's danger. So this should be, leaders need to know that an innovation culture should spread to all levels of the organization. And why? Because the culture, not the innovation, is a different. The innovation is the idea, is a new idea. The culture is that opportunity or space to continue exploring. This culture is a crucible for creation and innovation. Remember, when we are creative, we are bringing in new ideas, okay? And even innovation is a process. If there is no culture, if there is no way of life, if the environment, remember we say the culture is the environment that is created in an organization that provides for testing of these ideas. If there is no culture, then what happens is we do innovation sporadically. And innovations that are sporadic don't sustain organizations. It's a culture that sustains. So one of the subcultures, remember I told you of the 4 cultures. So one of the subcultures of an organization should be one that allows innovations as time requires and as events or environment dictates. because you remember this word in chemist? Remember crucible? That's more dish that we used to put chemical, and then we put it on a Bunsen burner. It never burned. It's a chemical that used to burn, but it's a thing that holds the chemicals. So the innovation culture is a crucible for us to keep trying and innovating and being creative. That's very important. So if we want this culture to appear or to grow in an organization, this is a starting point, leadership. If we have a leadership that's fearful, that doesn't want to discuss about creativity and innovation, I will sing them my song and quote them my verse, innovate or die. So this drives, it's the biggest driver. The second driver, and let me, okay, so before I go to the second driver, can I have somebody, let me pick somebody to read this for us. When, can you read this statement for us? Mweni Mlongo.
I'm reading, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you talk, go ahead.
Leaders shape and influence the development of macro and micro cultures and subcultures by what they prioritize, acknowledge, reward, communicate about, dedicate resources, that is time, finance, and in kind to, and model.
This is very true. This actually was said by Scale, one of the, I forgot to, I think the name should be there, yes, Edgar. It is true. So when first we talk of macro, like a national culture in Kenya is a macro culture. For example, micro are smaller cultures like tribal cultures. Subcultures are like what I've just talked about, for example. If I'm leading, like when I lead, I provide leadership in a school. If I'm an unfair leader, my subculture will creep, it will pass through all the stuff. If I'm a lazy leader, I don't recognize efficiency. It's a subculture I'm creating. And why is it that? Because of this thing, it's what the leader prioritizes. It's what the leader acknowledges. For example, let's pick a leader who is a clan leader. A leader was a fatherly, homely, family. Clan has something to do with family culture. Those values of let's be nice to each other. It's caring, it's a good culture, very caring. They will prioritize relationships and care and forgiveness. And forgiveness is not bad, but I sit in a board. I sit in two boards, so there's a board I sit in. And every time we raise the issues of discipline, one of the members said, but please, let's forgive. Now, that they prioritize that, they are caring. I can tell because I know culture, I can tell that's a clan leader. And there's nothing wrong with the prioritizing. Forgiveness, it's actually godly, but sometimes it can be misused to, what do I say, to condone or to encourage bad behavior. So we need to know as a leader what we prioritize, what we acknowledge, what we reward, what we communicate, what we dedicate resources to. That is the kind of a culture I can tell you for real. That's the kind of a culture that the other people will pick. Yes, Mwen, you wanted to say something. I saw your hand. I thought I saw somebody's hand.
I had raised that a bit earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That's why you see certain things are dominant. That's why I said leadership is a top thing. Because a leader has a right to influence. They prioritize, they acknowledge, they reward, they communicate, they dedicate resources, time, and they live it. Whatever they do, whether at a family level or at an organizational level or whatever institution, Let's get to their countries. Let's get to our country. Think in a particular context. Whatever a leader priority, let's shift from Kenya all the way to US. See what's happening in US. Look at who is speaking, communicating. What are they saying? And what's happening in the country? Look back at your own country. What is a leader saying? For example, if the president, look at what's happening in, let's say, COVID-19 management in East Africa. What we are seeing in every country is not because of the ministers who are doing it, it's what the top leader in that country is communicating. That's precisely it. So innovation cultures thrive in a particular setting. And remember, and be careful, it's not the only culture. I showed you 4 other cultures. So cultures need to be balanced. Otherwise, then if you keep innovating, you can completely just, you would keep innovating and going and moving and you will never accomplish anything. And then people who love the clan culture, because in an organization, different people identify with those different cultures. There are those of us who are risk takers, so we are more comfortable with the anti-oppress culture. But there are those people who are just, they want family. They thrive best when they feel cared for. So you need that culture because it's important. But you also need a culture where some people feel safe when they feel resources are in control. We are not spending money just anyhow. You know, I like to work very closely with our accountant because I normally make fun and tell him he feels nice when there's a lot of money in the bank, you know. But it is good, I need him, because otherwise, one day we will wake up, I'm a risk taker, very serious risk taker. We can wake up one morning and find there isn't much. The beauty is a very high financial intelligence, so that helps me. But I like to consult with them. I consult when I'm making tough decisions. When I'm in school, I bring the people with the clan culture in my meeting, so that they help me, because I can make a tough one. I can make a ruthless decision. I am not very compassionate by nature. I'm not very caring. I'm not pastoral by nature. They call me, but I know I'm not. So I like to listen to the pastoral hearts because it's a culture and we need to balance cultures. So don't forget that although we are emphasizing on the innovation culture here, organizations are not necessarily led by one culture. But this, if it's ignored, is a killer. Because the rest of the cultures tend to sustain, they don't move forward. The clan culture cares, stabilizes. The hierarchy culture controls resources and stabilizes. The market culture will satisfy the client. But if we don't add value to the product, remember, again, the client will go. So innovation culture is extremely important. Because as I said, the environment is changing. It gives us another perspective of addressing challenges that are facing us, but it also triggers, you know, the creative juices that are in our stuff to come forth, and then we are able to find better, more attractive, sweeter solutions to things. So, leader, that's where I was. Leader is a driving factor in an organization when it comes to culture. Number 2, I know I've spent a lot of time there. We need to hire with diversity. Employers, sometimes we only focus on competencies, but it's important when people want to promote a culture, innovation culture, they must be very diverse in set of skills, in terms of skills, competencies, background, experience, you know, potential, these fellows, these risk taker guys, and also cultural diversity. So, I mean, I have said this, I can't overemphasize this. So if you are in HR here, or you are a leader in a department, check out this when you are hiring. The competencies, the backgrounds in terms of professional, but also backgrounds in terms of ethics, because ethically and culture, little tribalism, the tribalism we struggle with. If we become diverse in tribal aspect, there is something that another tribe brings into play that I don't have. So we can, one of the ways of killing tribalism and dealing with possibly becoming more innovative is to be diverse intentionally. Then we need to hire the best, but not at the expense of diversity. I am not saying for particular people who are here and are in HR, I'm not saying, compromise for the best at the expense of this, but I'm saying when you hire the best, please don't forget diversity. And then the other one is employ different hiring processes or work arrangements. In the current discussion of HR, for example, finding its place in the negotiation table, because many times HR functions in most organizations are perceived as administrative, hire, fire, give us a letter, pay salary, benefits, those are really, really administrative roles. Now, the current emphasis for the top HR bodies or directors or whatever personnel is that they move out of that administrative role to a more strategic role. And the strategic role is one that's able sometimes even to subcontract services or get to understand certain intelligences like we are talking about, so that a HR person is very equipped with financial knowledge. When I worked in World Vision, that was one of the requirements for you to become like a director. I mean, they trained us all aspects of finances. It's very difficult for our accountant to tell me something that I don't know in finance. I have a very strong non-financial competency. Then I have learned legal issues on hiring, for example. Then you need to also learn stuff that helps you, for example, with writing reports or management. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are diverse, one of the things that helps you is you appreciate other perspectives that are not within your discipline, so that when people bring that kind of knowledge or something needs to change, let's say you are a maverick, like me, or you're more attuned to idiocracy culture, but then the controlling culture, somebody else in your team has a controlling culture, because finances need to be managed for the organization to thrive during difficult moments. You don't become averse, you don't become risk averse as far as supporting a financial person to bring on board a new, maybe accounting system, because you have an appreciation of another discipline. That's what I'm trying to say. You hire from either with all these competencies, but also make certain arrangements in hiring. Sometimes you can bring people into a hiring process who have a different background. For example, during interviews, there is something they pick in the interview process that ordinarily don't pick. So this is critical. Diversity in hiring. I'm drinking water so that I hear. Is there a question, any comment? So that I think I have 2 more points. I'm on time, we'll be finishing. But let's see, is there any comments that you want me? Yes, somebody's raised, there are 2 people who have raised their hands. Who are they? Let me see. Who are these guys? Yes, this is, there's Mweni and Angela. Let's go Angela first.
Okay, my question was, what is the fine balance, therefore, of what's the fine balance in an organization between to accommodate everyone? How best can you go about leading?
Okay. An interesting question and a tough one. There's no really, I wouldn't say there's a fine balance. And that's why we are learning a lot of things about leadership. That's why we are learning, for example, to be agile, agility, to be a risk taker, to have good financial systems. When we talk of, for example, intelligences, those different intelligence, to have a cultural intelligence. So in other words, you appreciate people from a different culture, appreciate spirituality, people come from different spiritual backgrounds, appreciate that we need to have to control resources well. But at the same time, we also need to care. That's the other culture. So it is, for you, I wouldn't call it a balance. What I would say is be multi-equipped and have many competencies that help you to be able to switch from one corner to another, or apply what you call situational leadership. Situational leadership is where you look at a circumstances or a situation and say, this particular situation requires this type of leadership. Let me give an example. For example, if staff have done very well in their place of work, then you become celebratory. You go to clan. You shift to a culture of a family, of one of care. But if things are tough, like during COVID period, and we need to take salary cut, you go hierarchy. You take control and you explain. If we are running out of ideas and things are changing and we need to innovate, you go handocracy culture. You employ skills that help you to be able to innovate. But at the same time, if your clients are complaining, whether they are staff or you are outsiders, you listen to them. You are now dealing with the market culture. So it's an issue of you knowing what will it take for me to move from this corner to the other. And let me just, bring it again, or that slide that I had shown. Because here we are talking about culture. So it's an issue of saying, do I have the necessary competencies to employ this at any given time? Because the leader needs to have a portion of each. Let me say this, we are always by nature strong in one. Naturally, we are strong in a particular culture. I'm stronger on this two than this two, but I must learn this two. So it's an issue of growing your weaker areas. And those things that we are talking about, control, like for example, if you have several intelligences, like your financial intelligence, it will fall here, okay? If you have cultural intelligence, it could be here or here. So I would say, Angela, it's an issue of equipping yourself with the many different leadership facets that we have been talking about, so that you are so effective and so competent that you can comfortably move from one corner to another. I hope I've helped, but there's not one single answer to say, there will never be a time when you will satisfy everybody. The most important thing is to be fair and to be competent. When you do like that, then people are able to feel, yeah, we are understood, we are explained out, we see the reason why this particular decision must be made, and that keeps you going, okay? Let me stop there. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay,
it does.
Before I read some charts here.
Hi, so I wanted to contribute a bit earlier when you were talking about why we should innovate.
Yes.
I work in an organization, well, I work for the government, which does not prioritize innovation as much. Mm-hmm. Actually, in the government, innovation is frowned upon. It's actually punished. If you go ahead and you become creative on how to collect taxes, it might not sit very well with because of the bureaucracies and the red tape that exist in the government. And so it impedes career growth. There's not, a lot of people don't grow in their career because of the lack of innovation, or because that has not been provided. So you will come up with your own ideas, but they cannot be adopted because, they need to go through 21 channels before they can get to the Commissioner General, who will then take it to the board to decide, can we use this particular format to write reports or not? So you were asking about why people should innovate, and that was what I was going to contribute, that if we don't innovate, then we have stunted career growth. And then you're also asking about personal space. And I was just thinking about how in a home, if I don't move furniture, I never get to clean the spaces behind that furniture. And then stains start forming. And by the time you're seeing the stain, because it hasn't been cleaned for a very long time, it's harder to remove the stain. So moving furniture around helps to make sure every surface in the house is clean.
It also changes the looks of the house. I don't know whether you have decided to change your bed.
Yes, it does.
You got into a new house, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. It brings life. So change, actually innovation is about change also. But as I said, you don't need to money to make all changes. You can make small changes, and they bring fun, life in the house, okay? Yamoka, I can see there's a question I need to answer, and I'll come back to it. Very personal. Let me go ahead and then finish the other 2 points why we really need to innovate. I mean, the drivers of innovation. As I said, the first one is we need to push the leader, or just get to know it's a leader. It's a leader, it's a leader, period. If I go to an organization, anywhere I go, whether church, whether school where I work, whether house, the first thing when I look around there, I see, I'll tell you the kind of a person, the leader there, okay? Particularly institutions, organizations. If they progress, if I see families progressing, either the man is the head of the family, in that case, is the head of the family, is a good innovator or allows room, or he has a good number two. You know, there's something in, let me just deviate. There's something we call alpha, female. Now, the word alpha in scripture means number one, correct? Now, some families have an alpha female. The female is a leader, but she's number two. So if the number one is not a good leader, but creates space for the alpha female, that family will still go. It's an innovative way of doing this. Anyway, that's not what I was talking about, but diversity in hiring. Hire with innovation in mind. The third one, driver, is where you need to create the innovation space, because you can have the leadership. Remember those three pillars that we talked about. You can have the capacity, you can have a leadership that's willing, but then there is no opportunity. So if we create the opportunity for innovation, and there are several things that we look at, then innovation takes place. Now, an innovative space, because here I'm talking of creating an innovative space, is basically a safe place for nurturing accidental innovation. And this word is very critical. Failures and successes. Now, in innovation, because we are trying out many things, definitely there are failures. There are some things organizations that have an innovation culture, they will tell you they set aside money, like WPC, just to try out things. And many things don't take up. In fact, it's said that sometimes 30% of a budget allocated to innovation, it just doesn't produce results. Because before people get to the thing working, there are failures. So, and sometimes it's accidental. You're trying something that you're not sure if it will work. So there needs to be room for nurturing accidental failures, but also successes in the process of building a blame. I wanted to look at this one, blame-free innovation culture. The minute we start to blame, culture dies, because people are gripped by fear, and innovation requires boldness and confidence. So we need to, as leaders, to be able to create this, and it's very important, okay? The other thing that's therefore is required, once we have this innovation, the innovation for innovation space to thrive, we need what you call an innovation lab. This is it's not a physical lab. It can be, but it may not be, could just even be a department. But this is a setting that allows people to access the right technologies. In most organizations, they set it an innovation lab. I don't know when I was talking to your boss, Commissioner Terra, he was telling me during my interview with him that they were setting up an innovation lab. And I know right now, DPP has set up something like this for corruption. I know our NSIS has set up something like this, innovation labs. These are where people access certain technology rights are technological, appropriate technologies to be able to execute work. And I know Kenya Revenue Authority is working on this. This has really helped them, correct, Mweni? Oh, you're not allowed to disclose, but anyway.
No, it's correct. It's just in line with what the DCP was talking about, the multi-agency. So that's what's going on.
Yeah. So this is very useful. In countries that have first developed world where they are this is how they get data. This is how they are able to monitor corruption or a violation of security in different countries. Very developed countries have very, very sophisticated innovation labs. So, and certain organizations, depending on what they do, then they have this, because that's where they access the right technologies. And most of them are heavily funded. Then you need what you call innovation ambassadors. The lab is not just important. If you have a space created, you need the technologies, but you also need this group of people. Now, when we call, the people we call innovation ambassadors these are energetic individuals. This not necessarily age now. the energetic individuals who are bold enough to engage leadership. In most cases, they could be within middle management or the top leadership, but in most cases they are somewhere, middle management or lower level. And they also readily sign up for training. And they volunteer for what we call ideation, is where is the stage of conceptualizing the idea and beginning to take it on. So these guys are energetic, they can confront or engage leadership. When an idea comes up, they sign up, they volunteer for ideation of innovations to support leadership efforts to build a culture. Now, so this basically is what you call creation of a innovation space, and in that space, this blame-free innovation culture that encourages blame-free innovation culture. You need the labs, you need the ambassadors. They are very important. If you don't have these two, it's very hard to develop a culture. But remember, they can be there in an organization. But if the top leadership does not embrace them, there is very little you can do. Now, this is what thrives, this too is what helps companies like PwC. And I promise to tell you this story. So sometimes what they do, they give some of the best companies that thrive, they give opportunity to staff. So what happened, for example, I think it was, I don't know, 2017 or something. And I think this happens every year in PwC. So what they do, I don't know the current one in Kenya, but I know this does happen. They tend to write reports a lot on this one. So they allocate time for employees to go and think. For example, every Friday, 1 hour of work. And that hour is for you to go and think of an innovation. And they continue to conceptualize the ideas. Then somewhere around media, they now begin to vet. And the management sponsors. They just come, there's money for innovation because there's a budget set aside. They come and set aside time, they vet the best idea. Then they get the top 3. And sometimes then they allow those guys now to continue polishing the idea, or maybe 6 to 3. Then around somewhere like November, they vet again. They put the team together that comes and vets again the best idea. Now towards December, the best person with the best idea in the company is singled out and given about $10,000. Now, those ideas are so serious that the company simply uses them to grow. That's how they simply use their own staff to vet and get good ideas, because those guys are thinking. So because they are being motivated and rewarded, that is a company that has over time developed innovation culture. So what they do, they continue to support the staff. Now, the final one is embracing organizational innovation bodies. I love this one. I told you that if you read my article online, you see I've discussed about this guy. There are some guys we call organizational antibodies, normally just from the word antibody. Now, innovations naturally disrupt the status quo. And there are guys who don't like change for whatever reason. They complain, no, they have changed the way we used to do things. So who are the antibodies? Antibodies, these guys called the antibodies. These are people or processes. It's not just people, but they are processes that extinguish a new idea as soon as it begins to cause change through the organization. Because I'm an innovator, I'm a risk taker. So every time I get into an organization, I normally confront the antibodies. They are very averse. They are risk averse. They don't like change. And they get very uncomfortable. You can hear them saying, we used to do things like this. Now this person has just come and messed us up. If you hear someone talking like this, just know they are an antibody. They are very uncomfortable with change. And they don't know what to do. They will fight. Now, for you to succeed in your innovation, you must learn how to manage this group. Now, so building an innovation culture never goes unopposed because it tends to disrupt the status quo. So for you to overcome this first, this second point is important for you to know that it doesn't matter how good the idea is, it tends to disrupt comfort. You remember, think of my 4 clans. My 4 cultures. Clan culture is most people with clan culture tend to have this problem. They are antibodies. They are comfortable. They don't want change, and so they will oppose. So you don't fight them. You embrace them, and I will share briefly how PwC embraces it. Now, so don't treat them like naysayers. Just complainers. These fellows are opposers. Look at them as advocates. They advocate for stability, because I told you, organizations should not change all the time. They have a good intention. They are not necessarily evil. They feel responsible for the stability of the organization. They take it up to themselves, and they want to protect the organization. They're not sure where you are taking the organization, so they advocate. They're advocates of stability. And they protect the organization from these unknown risks. They say, we don't know where you're taking us. So they cause a leader or innovators to refine their ideas. So I want you to look at them from a positive perspective, that they are advocates of stability. They are advocates of good system. They are protecting the organization from possible loss of resources, because they are not sure where you're taking as a risk taker. They're not sure where you're taking the organization. They want you to explain your ideas. And because as you explain, you refine the idea. So they are positive. So if you want to overcome or to beat these guys into their game, you involve them in the process. For PwC, they are involved in vetting the process. Because they are vetting with this care. They want to see which of this idea is not going to mess us up. So instead of saying, oh, these guys are complaining and they mess us up, they are disruptive, you get them into the discussion, get them into the negotiation table. Ask them, how can it be better? Let's hear you. Ask them what their fears, and then allow them to say, help them see the danger of staying in that cocoon of fear. But at the same time, get them to see your perspective. So you don't fight them, you educate them. Then bring them close to you and tell them, okay, since your concerns are 1, 2, 3, 4, help me vet the best idea that is going to move the organization forward. So that's how you embrace the antibodies. But every organization has antibodies. They are antibodies. We'll always find them. So many times they are called organizational antibodies, but because we are discussing innovation, in this case, we call them innovation antibodies. So the organizations of antibodies, they are not necessarily negative, but I can tell you, if you don't know how to deal with them, you will resign if you are a leader. They can get you out if you are a new leader. They will protect that organization like it's their house. Some of them will remind you how long they have worked there. You just came the other day. How much do you know? We've been here long enough. Please don't bring your many ideas that cannot work. They'll throw you out. So you have to learn to win the antibodies on your side by involving them in the process. And that's what WPC does. And they are good. Look at them from point 3 perspective. They advocate for stability. They advocate for controls. They are caring about how much resources you use. They don't want resources to be wasted. And as they ask you questions about your many ideas, because they will tell you have too many new ideas that are not tested, they'll help you refine your thinking. Okay? Okay, let me get somebody to read this for us. Javia, can you read for, no, Wendy, let me get Wendy to read. Can you read this for us, Wendy, Franklin?
Is it just me or I can't see your screen?
Can you? Am I talking on my own things?
Yeah, I think we can't see your screen actually.
Oh my God. How did you not say all those things I was talking? I was talking on my own stuff. You didn't say anything. Okay. And why did you not say you are not saying? Okay, so let me show you.
Okay.
Oh, I intended to share your screen. So can you see this? I talked about antibodies. You see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Anybody?
the last point we saw was point number 2.
Oh, this one. Building
On,
innovation.
No. The point on diversity in hiring. After that, we didn't see this.
Oh my God. Okay. So, oh my God. And you didn't say that. So let me go back then to say, oh, I've gone too far. So, okay. So let me just show you the third one, because I said diversity in hiring. So leadership, diversity in hiring. And then I talked about number 3, which is the create innovation space. And then I said the innovation is a safe place for nurturing accidental innovation. We need to nurture, the innovation space needs to allow people to nurture failures, what we call blame-free environment. And then I said under this, you have 2 things. There's the innovation lab, and then there's what we call innovation ambassadors. These are the guys I said are critical in signing up. They engage the leader, they sign up, they volunteer to take on new ideas, and they help leadership to build innovation. Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay. Then the 4th one I said, which is the last point, is embrace these guys we call the innovation antibodies. And I say these guys, they protect the organization. They may look like they are negative, but they are not necessarily negative. We need to look at them from number 3, that they advocate, they protect the organization from risk issues, the resources, but they also help you to refine the idea, your idea. And I say this is how PwC does. What they do, they bring them on board, and they make sure that they vet the ideas. That way, you win them, you win confidence, and they feel involved. Instead of criticizing, they embrace, because they feel like, we are taking care, because they consider themselves advocates. They think they are the stewards of resources in the organization, and they don't like to be challenged. They feel responsible for the stability of the organization. And when you are stable, you die being stable. So there's a place for stability, but we need to innovate. So what you do, you engage them in the process. You win them on your side by engaging them and involving them. So this is what I wanted you to read now. Can you see that? Mwende, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so can you read that?
Which point?
Just
from the beginning. Oh, okay. Yes, you hadn't seen. So just the way antibodies attack our immune system and destroy foreign objects that tend to harm the body, organizational antibodies identify and neutralize any idea or force that threatens to destabilize a company or an institutional culture.
Yeah, that's what we call antibodies. These guys, they will identify and neutralize, because they feel like they are stewards. They feel responsible for stability. So they don't allow any new change. So it's up to you as a leader. And you will always have a team member. They may not be at the top, but you'll always have a team member who says, so where are we going with this idea? How much do you know about it? We are not sure. When you hear somebody like that, don't call them antibody, otherwise you'll be in trouble. But just know now that I've told you, they are called the organizational antibodies. Every organization has an antibody. And the antibody is not necessarily bad. They're not just naysayers. We need to look at them as stewards of the organizational stability. Okay? So, summary of what I said today: innovate or die. I hope I've convinced you to innovate or you die. If I'm not, then I lost my many 2 hours almost. And then the other one is innovate. Innovation culture is more important than the innovation. It's the environment of innovating that's more important than the act of innovating. The ideas can be developed if the environment is accommodative of that, okay? And then I say there are 4 drivers. There's a leadership, which is top, most, very important. Higher diversity, in a diversity way, bring in innovation space where you have the lab and the ambassadors. Free, it's an innovative, free, blame-free environment. And then mitigate or embrace these guys. Otherwise, they'll cause trouble for you. Okay. I know there's a question I was supposed to answer before I say the way forward for this group, because this was really my last session. Somebody asked, I don't know why, Mocha, you have kept reminding me that I need to answer the question. Do you want to expound the question? You know, I keep forgetting what I said so that I can answer if I say the way forward. Mocha.
Yeah, so you know, last time you talked about you being, you know, having the ability or the gifting to bring life into dead institutions. So for me, I felt I just needed to go practical. You know, what are the practical steps you took in just bringing life into these institutions? Because I mean, I know innovation is part of it, but maybe to hear it from a practical point of view, and you can pick a case study, one of the organizations maybe you worked on, and what are the steps you took so that it drives the point home.
Practical. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing that I did was I've done a little personality profile for myself. Personality profiling is where I understood myself and I understood my strengths. So if you have done Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENTJ. And ENTJ is a very strong organization. So I'm extroverted, intuitive, so I have a strong foresight by just nature. I am good with foresight. No wonder I love to study foresight. And then I have this is how they explain this. Extroverted, intuitive, thinking, judging. But not judging doesn't mean I'm judgmental, which I possibly am, but it simply means I am organized, I'm scheduled, I'm methodical, I'm planful. So I'm a very strong strategic thinker. I'm both foresight and strategic thinking. And my thinking nature is very analytical. So the opposites of those, the extreme opposite of that personality would be introverted, sensing, meaning the introverted person are more reserved, they're not verbal, I'm more verbal, express my thinking verbally. The introverted personality revert to themselves. The opposite of the second letter, which is sensing, is they're factual, they are detailed, and I tend to get along very well with people who are sensing. It doesn't mean they are sensitive. Everybody's sensitive to some extent. It simply means they have a lot of data. They have details with themselves. Like the place I work in school, my deputy is very sensitive. So if I write documents, I don't see my typos. So I throw to her. She will see everything like a machine and pick the mistakes. So she's very strong on that. And then the other element that I'm not very strong and somebody else is the feeling people. So that it doesn't mean you don't have feeling if you use that tool. It means those people are more compassionate, they are more caring. That my husband has that personality, is more people oriented. I'm activity oriented. I'm not people oriented. In other words, my relationships tend to revolve around things and doings more than people. So again, that's my third area. And finally, I'm not spontaneous. I have to grow to be spontaneous. Hii story ya kunipigia simu, uniambie you are going to see me in the next 2 hours, it doesn't sit with me. I'm planful. But again, you learn in all you say. So the first thing I did was to get to know myself. And I have a lot of reports about my personality profile. So what I did then after getting to know my personality profile was to find out the careers or the things that are good at. And the ENTJs are described as strong organizational leaders. I didn't know, although I was doing it well, but now that ability of studying myself professionally helped me. So it is true, I don't struggle leading organizations. Unknowingly for a long time, without knowing, I realized every employer who kind of got me, or even job that I was given, was almost a failing job. And somehow I would manage to turn it around. So one, turn it around in the sense that I have the capability, my makeup, those things I've described, helps me to just arrest. So I'm a foresight, I'm a very strong foresight, just by nature, other than just studying. So I'll quickly see flaws in an organization. I'll see where the shortcomings are. And then my culture as a person is the anti-ocracy. So I'm a maverick, I'm a risk taker, I'm a non-conformist. I don't fear. In fact, I make fun and say the word fear does not exist in my vocabulary. So I am courageous. See, the things I'm saying, you told me to make it practical. So I bring on board, I have understood myself with a lot of study, and I've appreciated, instead of focusing on what I'm weak at. Remember I said I'm not very relational. Instead of weeping and crying, saying, oh, you know me, I used to weep and cry and mourn, you know, me, I'm not relational, I can't be a pastor. I stopped that stuff and said, those who are endowed to be pastors, amen. I know that's not my gift, number one. I can be, but when the real pastors are in place, I step aside because I'm naturally not very strong in that area. So instead of spending time mourning over my failure, I embraced my strength. So I know, as I described, those foresight, I'm a risk taker. Look at what I'm doing here. Who would have started something like this? Somebody else possibly would have feared. But see, how many of you are here today? 32, and sometimes I have you 48. For the 8, weeks or 8 sessions I've spent with you, somebody has been, helped. So when I got to know my personality, and then I realized that I'm good with leadership, then I focus in studying what I'm good at. When you look at my profile, Mocha, my first degree is in agriculture. I don't farm. I have a degree in agriculture. I tell you the truth, I don't. My husband is a good farmer. I support him, but I don't farm. Number 2, my second degree is in development. I worked on development for long, but I rarely now. My third degree is in sociology and disaster management. All those things I was studying, trying to find my bearing. I wish somebody helped me with the tools that I did to find my bearing. So when I realized I'm good with organizational leadership, I stopped everything else and I focused on what I'm good. So for example, my current choice of continuing to lead our church school is deliberate. Because we need a pastor, in quotes, who is good with leading. The school belongs to church. So me, I don't preach ideally. I do when I get an opportunity, but my passion is in leadership. So I take charge of the school. When I joined, you told me to make it practical. When I took Emerald in December 2016, the school was not in a good shape. It was in debts. Children were leaving. I can tell you this and I can talk this boldly because I have colleagues in this training and they can attest to that. There was very hostile environment. I found people signing in the morning when they are reporting. They were signing in a book. I told them, throw away that thing. I don't want to see it here. Because we have to rise above those controls, okay? And the control is not bad, but I'm saying that's a traditional way of running an institution where I have to make staff sign every morning. I have many ways of knowing you're not working. I don't have to have that. So when I took that, within the first 1 year, we paid the debts because I have a very strong financial intelligence. I engage accountants and auditors smartly. I am good with that. That, as I said, you grow in different ways. I manage finances. And just to tell you, I manage finances comfortably. We don't need the loans that private schools are asking to sustain our school. We don't need it in Emerald because we manage our finances well. So I put systems in place. For example, our turnaround payment period for any client should be between hours to maximum 7 days. That's my policy. Nobody should, in fact, 3 days, it has said too long. If you supply us with any services, I want you paid before 7 days are over, full stop. That's now some of the things that I bring into leadership that turns around the organization. So I have the capability to diagnose. In this case, we did a culture assessment. And when I did for Emerald, the dominant culture was control. The second culture was clan. So, and because I'm strong on adhocracy and marketing, I have staff who are also good in my deputies, or because I have several teams I work with, for example, my management team, they are strong. The accountant is very strong on control, hierarchy, not necessarily the bad one, but helps us to control. Then there are others who are good in clan, there are others who are good in marketing. So we combine our cultures. So I have the capacity to get into an organization and determine the culture professionally. And then I'm able to say, we need so and so. I'm able to study. Remember, I'm a certified psychometrist. So I'm able to study my stuff and know so and so is good in this area. Then we can put this together. So practically, that's how I put it. First, once more again, let me summarize. I understood my personality and what I'm good at. I don't waste time naturally doing something I'm not good at. I don't. If I'm not good at 80%, I don't spend time doing it. I look for that person who is good at it, and I don't shy from praising them. I don't struggle affirming somebody who is good than me. I do. I don't think it's a sign of weakness. I think it is a sign of strength as a leader. Then I focus my studies on what I'm good at as a leader. Then I stay active. In other words, I deliberately get involved actively in leadership so that I don't grow docile, or I don't grow. I am able to practically apply the things I'm telling you today. Okay? And then I narrow myself down to what as I said, when I'm good. I don't do everything. I do one thing. So, and I've realized that over the years, because of riding on my areas of strength, for sure, I turn around organizations without struggle. Doreen, let me get you somebody here. I work with, I have I think 5 or so staff in this group whom I train. I've never told you there. Doreen, now you work with me. Sorry for putting you on spot. Okay, so let Doreen tell you just a bit of what, because she was in the school. Doreen and Pauline, tell us how Emerald was. Let's make it practical because the team wants to hear. Tell us what is that was there that you feel never was slowing down growth, and what is there that together we are put in place that you think is helping us. Let's start with Doreen.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Chaya, for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. I think looking back, one of the things that I can remember, and also referring to what Dr. Chaya has just shared concerning the organizational structure, the 4 strong cultures in an organization. What I can strongly remember was the hierarchical culture.
Yes,
yes. Where there is very serious control. So you almost feel, just remembering the phrase of I can't breathe, you only do what the leader wants. There's no room to think or explore, or just do what you're good at doing. And it's such a big difference you can see at the moment, where everyone is given an opportunity to do what they are best at in doing. So for me, that lacking over time, there was quite, you realize the staff would go. Actually, it was a point where, like Dr. Chaya is saying, staff were just going every now and then, and not only staff, even children. Parents were really getting dissatisfied, I think also because of lack of growth. So really, I think the organization had reached at a point where, like a dead end, if I can, for lack of a better word, we had actually reached a dead end. And it actually took the grace of God and thank God for the leadership of Dr. Chaya just to come out of almost a dead situation and come, because there was no what I can call transparency, honesty, just a room to allow people to grow and become what they need to become for the organization to grow. I think that's what I can say. Thank you.
Lynn, you have been there long enough. What do you think, what culture do you think was almost killing us? Is Pauline here today?
Oh, sorry, I was talking while muted. Yes, I'm in.
Okay. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, go.
I would say it's the hierarchy culture, whereby actually it is, let me just put it in layman language, that do as I say, and there was no creativity. The teachers were not creative. You would not even express yourself. And also there was serious control from the leader. So now that affected the staff, there was so much fear from the staff. So you find that now the staff could not even, were not able to do anything because you work in fear. So this led also now to, I think also people are stressed out. So the staff left, students left, parents were not even happy. They were always complaining and there was no one to listen to them. But when Dr. Ann came in, things just changed and turned around. The staff is happy. We are able to be creative. We can speak our mind. You can give an idea and it's implemented, or you can also be given advice. So we've really seen a turnaround in Emerald School. Thank you.
Actually, I learned from these guys a lot. Thanks, Pauline and Doreen. I learned from them a lot. These two guys are very different. Their personalities are different. Actually, both of them are in my management team. And there are other guys here. And I didn't tell them to join this training. They just chose themselves. I called Doreen because she was not. Initially, I limited them to very young ones, but I thought, let me get mine open up to my team. But what I'm trying to say, I learned from them myself. A very, very good strength. Like I told you, when I am trying to make a tough decision, I call them because I want to hear what they'll say, because they are more caring, they are more concerned, they listen more, they don't jump into conclusion. Me, I am a radical, I can make a killer decision. So I bounce it with them. Sometimes I refuse to get involved in their meeting so that they decide alone. When I came, I could put them in a meeting and ask a question and nobody answers. And I kept wondering, these guys have been here for long, why are they not talking? Then I came to realize over the years there was fear. So I think I have made it practical, Mocha, and it's a blend of one, as I told Angela, you need to, it takes in my view, it takes between 5 to 10 years to be able to be a very good organization leader, but you can accelerate that. So you need to learn more stuff, learn from anywhere, learn from your juniors, learn from your seniors. You must have somebody you admire, who you look up to, learn from books, learn. If nothing else, learn. If you want to be a good leader, learn. My husband is also my mentor. I bounce a lot of things in my husband. I mean, he's my husband, but there are certain things I look at him and I say, does this different from me? And I think it works. So you must maintain a learning attitude if you are going to make an impact as a leader. But also, don't do things that you're not good at. Draw strength from other people. And I would say, before you spend a lot of time in career doing the wrong things, you guys are so advantaged because there are a lot of tools now. Possibly one of the training that as we go forward, we might want to do for those of you who are very keen with leadership is to go to the level of doing personality profile. And there are different tools we use. Some are called Canada Psychometrics, others Myers-Briggs. And like the Canada Psychometric one, it helps you to see 23 different elements of your leadership capability, where you are strong, where you are weak. And then you get into a path of growth, okay? I think I've answered that extensively, Mocha. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you so much, appreciate it.
So let me finish this. Today we are shooting and I'm really conscious. We are short by 17. Let me say this, what's the way forward? I intended to give you some graduation or certificates, and since it's online, what I don't, I'm normally honest. What I don't want to do is to spend my money giving you, producing good certificates for you, because we will try to see whether we can design some. Mumo is a designer, but I will ask, I'll leave this group alone to decide whether you do want to do something. Either we design and send them online, but I feel like I use Mumo a lot, so possibly that somebody needs to pay something little so that we can motivate him. And I can sign your names and just send you the soft copy. I think we've been together for now over 8 sessions, and I think you have learned stuff. I can list the topics you have covered in this, in the certificate. It will help some of you somewhere. So I don't know, somebody you need to give me an idea. I will challenge you guys to come together and put a team on your own. Javier, get some guys here, think together, give me a good idea. I'm happy if you help me design, I can sign them. So that's about the other second thing I think as a way forward is I intend to continue inviting guys to talk to us, and I know when I invite them, I'll give them different topics. So what I intend to do is, if I have a new speaker whom you have not listened before, all the same, but they're handling a different topic, I'll invite you. Should you want to join, that's fine. But I'll keep this going so that you are continuously learning, continue learning, brother. That's the second one. The first one is certificate. The second one, let's keep the dialogue. I don't want to lose the touch with the team because we need to keep learning together. Or maybe you want us to have a conversation on another level. The thing that possibly I never did is to create a coordinating team out of this. I know I've been working mainly with 4 people, Momo, Javier, and Mastula, Dr. Mastula in Uganda, kind of. But you might want Javier and Momo and Dr. Mastula, you might want to put your heads together. And if they are this team, and maybe Kabibiri, yeah, guys, let's get the ladies on board. If you can, Javier, I want to challenge you. If people can compose it or comprise a team of like 6 people, some 3 ladies, 3 men, we can keep this team, and let me know who it is. We can keep this team intact so that if there's a topic you want us to discuss, we can continue to do that. I'll develop a survey and throw it to you. One of the interesting things I want from that survey or want to establish is what are some of the topics that you would want us possibly to get deeper, because we could take another topic and just go deeper. But if we do that, you will pay me. Okay, but I can develop, I can work on I have a lot of info. So we can go deeper. For example, do we want to go deeper into emotional intelligence? Because we can, as a topic, and we just go through it like 4 sessions or 3 months, just talking about, sorry, not emotional intelligence, multiple intelligences, because there are several. There could be about 6, and each of them can be done separately. Or maybe we need to talk about agility, and we can expand it as a topic. Or we need to talk about immigrant mentality or leader culture. Like you can already hear culture here as a big one. We could begin to talk about leader culture. How does it develop? How can we shape it? What are the characteristics, for example, of those different cultures? Stuff like that. And then the 4th one is, as I said, I want you to encourage you to continue with self-development, but identify somebody, either the team that you lead in the office or someone you really want to help. We grow as we share. Remember when I told you about the influencer? Until we reproduce somebody else, we are not leaders. So we need to be able to help somebody else. So I want to stop. We have overshot today, seriously, 22 hours. I will be getting into another meeting very shortly. So there we go. And I want to stop there unless somebody has really been a question. I want to just stop there and say it's been an honor just interacting with you. Thank you for those of you religiously never missed a session, a single day, for all the sessions that we have been together, even those who missed and joined. And again, thank you for those of you who have sponsored people to join Cohort 2. And let me know, we started yesterday, we are not as many, but I'm committed. Even if I have 10 or 12 or 5, I'll give them the same stuff. Possibly Cohort 2 will be better off as we start, because every time you train, you refine the notes better. So let me stop with here. Any comment, any question, any response? Do you want us to meet once more as a final session, as I put in there, just to reflect, or can we call this a final one? Let me hear. Yes, I can see Mweni. Okay, Anton say, then Mweni, let's go. Anton, talk.
Yeah. Also, I'm very appreciative, Dr. Ann, for the session, and I think it would be good to have a wrap-up session, possibly where we sort of hear what has stood out through the various conversations for everyone. I think it will also provide a place for people to give feedback. A survey is good, but I think when people interact, they also learn a lot. So I think that would be helpful. But thanks for the session today. Yeah.
Okay, so it was actually planned for 27, so I could go ahead and see you, Ashley. At that time, we'll just be debriefing and talking, not me training. Okay, so that I take the idea. So somebody else, when you wanted to say something, thank you so much, Auntie.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for this session that we have had, and also just to encourage people to sponsor and allow millennials to learn. One of the ones that joined yesterday wrote back to me and said that she's very impressed and she cannot wait to learn more. And so
Wow.
she said she's already looking forward to more because the first session was very amazing. So just
thank you.
Thank you.
Terry.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Ann and everyone in the forum today. First, I really want to thank you for choosing to do this and just for having the courage to step out and, empower millennials. And I think we're in that group. For me, I think this has been such a self-development program. And it's really helped me bearing in mind where I am right now and where I'm coming from. So personally, it's been very helpful. So thanks again for choosing to do this and for choosing to help us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And both Mweni and Terry have actually sponsored people. And thank you for sponsoring some guys. Terry, we have, I think, supported 2 people with your money. So you have sponsored 2 people. Thank you so much for that. Okay. So, and I gave this, if you encourage, even if you don't pay for somebody, but you encourage 2 people to join this program, I give you a chance for 1 more free person. Can you imagine, you guys? You must support somebody. If I was to charge you money, all of you, I would have made something. So, so I just want you to, it's a principle of God. We call it principle of divine exchange. The Bible says the same measure that you use, it will be used back to you. So support somebody. Sometimes you may not support them 100%. You can tell somebody, I'll pay for you 1,000 shillings. Come on board, I'll support you. Let's keep going. Because if I was to charge professionally the content I give you, I spend sometimes quite a lot of time. I literally am up many times at 3 a.m. through, because daytime I'm busy working, possibly for school or something. So I read stuff, I go to my textbook, I read just to make sure I prepare for you. So, and whether I say whether there are 2 or 10, my nature is I put the same effort. Okay. So thank you so much, you guys. So I'll then, so that we don't go beyond this, can you put your cameras on? Then we agree that we'll have 1 more wrap-up session. And that, please do come. Let's share the experiences. Thank you guys for being on. Put your cameras on. I'm the only one who is on. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I can now see you. I should have taken a photo for getting you on, but so I'll call you on 27. Please prepare your mind. What is this one thing, or what stood out for you through the training? And my keen interest would be, I'll be keen to know, what are you doing with the information that you are gaining? What are you doing? How are you making use of it? Is there something that has begun to change in your life? I get vulnerable with you guys. I expect you to come and tell us, this I never used to do, or this one I didn't know how to do it, and I've started a journey of doing something. Just come and feel free to share with us. So for almost 1 hour, 45 minutes, I'll be listening to you guys. And we will record those sharing because I think they are profound. If we can hear you tell us, then we can now throw a questionnaire to you after that, just to help me know which topics we need to develop further. Should any of you want to go deeper on certain areas, then we can engage further. Okay? right. Can I ask Pauline to pray for us? Just pray for us this session.
Okay, let's pray. Mighty and everlasting Father, we thank you this evening. Thank you so much, Lord, for all that you have done. We thank you for the session that we have had. And we thank you, Jehovah God, that you began with us. And now, Lord, we have come to a conclusion, dear Father. Thank you for all that we have learned. We want to thank you, dear Father, for Dr. Anne, dear Father. Thank you for the sacrifice and commitment she has made, O Lord. Father, in your own divine ways, we pray that you may pay her, dear Father, Lord. My Father, that her cup will be overflowing in the mighty name of Jesus. We pray for each and every member of this session, dear Lord, that whatever we have learned, it's going to help us as individuals, the places that we work, Lord, even the businesses that we have, dear Father, and most of all, even building our country and the nation at large, dear Father. We thank you, we bless your name, and pray that, dear Father, you bless all of us, dear Father, and may you help us, Lord, in all that we do. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we do pray and believe. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Enjoy. I have 2 more sessions to go. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Enjoy.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. You
Blessings. Bye.
Blessings. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mocha. When are you coming back? Bye. Bye, guys. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Alice. Thanks, Mumo. Thanks, Pauline. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Good to see you. Thanks, Pauline. Thanks, Angela. Thanks, Lois. Lois, are you back?
Thank you too.
Are you in Kenya?
I'm in Kenya now. Yeah.
Oh, good. When did you come down?
I've completed my 14-day quarantine
Oh,
yesterday.
My God. Oh my God,
Yeah.
so you are free. Amen. We thank God
I
for that.
am. I feel happy, yes.
Thank you so much. Welcome. Thanks, George. Good to see you. Where are you? You are driving to some place, George. Thanks, Lois. Bye.
Bye.
George, are you in the office or you are driving? I can't hear you. Your mic is on. Off. Yeah, say, go ahead. You're driving, isn't it?
Yes, I just got home. Yeah, I just got home.
Okay, thank you so much. Good to see you. Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless
the other guys? I can't see. Somebody's trying to get in. Edmond. Thank you, George. God bless you. Bye. Edmond is joining, but he's late. Okay, guys. So, Javia with Momo, put your team together. Muta design certificate in Kwanza. Me, I'm not going to kill myself with certificates. If you decide, let me see what you have. Then we can you can put people's names there. I'm happy to sign it. I think it will help somebody somewhere. So the fact that people have committed a lot of time, I think we need to give it. We need to give them certificates, okay? And it should have the logo of Leadership Impressions, I think, Mom. Okay. All right, or Apex. One side Apex Leadership, and then the other side is Leadership Impressions. Okay. Hi, girl. How are you? Did you get some gifts for rewards? What are they called? What are those things they buy?
Merits.
Yeah, merits. What did you buy for merits? A car.
Yes.
Okay. And your brother?
A car.
And your sister?
Even a car.
All of you cars? Okay, all right. So Javier, you will work with Momo. I'm
Sure.
getting into another.
That's
I think
okay.
I'm getting into another long one now.
Okay, sawa, no problem.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, God bless.
Okay, thanks. Bye.